Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. We are a man down. A man has been left behind in the changing rooms for this one, but we are holding down the fort. We've got all the information from last week's games. We've got all the football news, ins and outs, and we're previewing this week's games. So it's all still here. Everything's fine. It's all fine. Nothing to worry about. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And the big one is obviously share the podcast around. It's a massive help and we really do appreciate it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, Football Podcast.
Well, yes, indeed. Recording is underway. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching us on YouTube, you will see not the four faces that you expected. Although that was also the case last week. There was only three of us, but there is, again, only three of us. Back from his self-imposed sabbatical is Hull City's finest, Stuart Woodmansey. How are we, sir?
I'd like to say refreshed and raring to go, but you'll understand why that may not be the case when we get to the results.
No foreshadowing here. And here, as he is week in, week out, ladies and gentlemen, never misses, always there, always raring to go, the leader of the CookieCast podcast network, Mr. Andrew Cook. How are we this week, sir?
I don't know, with a build up like that, I feel like I should take a holiday from, being here. Like he's always here. When's he going to go? Why is he
like you just know for a fact that next week it's like, lads, I can't do it. I can't do any days this week, so you just have to do one without. Yes, obviously that just leaves one person conspicuous by his absence, Mr. Matthew Moore. Sadly unable to join us this evening, as I believe he is dancing the two-step at a concert, as he entitled it earlier on. I would personally class it as a gig, but concert, absolutely fine. So Matt will hopefully be back next week to bring us all of his Nottingham Forest charm and so on and so forth. So we'll start, as we usually do, with transfer dealings for our respective clubs. I'll go through Mr. Moore's as he is not here to do so. And there's just the one. It's a transfer in for Nottingham Forest, but only sort of. So, Nottingham Forest is pleased to announce it has agreed a deal to sign David Carmo from FC Porto. The 25-year-old is joining the club on a 5-year deal and will spend the 2024-25 season on loan at Olympiacos. So it sounds like he's a central defender, I believe. Central defender. Beginning his senior career at SC Braga, the central defender made 57 appearances across all competitions, which include lifting the Taça de Portugal in the 2020-2021 season. He made the move back to his hometown of Porto, where he went to feature 27 times and found success in the Portuguese Cup in 2023. He actually had a loan spell at Olympiacos towards the end of last season, where he was successful in winning the Europa Conference League with the rest of his teammates, and will now be there for the remainder of this season. Definitely no shady dealings there by Mr. Marinakis at all. Stu, I believe we've just got one or two in the door at Hull.
There's a little bit of movement. Some just slightly before we came on air. So ins, we have a couple of confirmed ins. Did you cover Chris Bedia last week? I think he probably signed just after podcast.
I must admit, I don't think it's a name that I wasn't familiar with. Let's put it that way.
I believe it or not, gents, I did listen in just to see how much he slagged me off, and was pleasantly surprised that it was minimal. And I don't recall hearing you say that name. So yeah, Chris Bedia, centre forward from Union Berlin. He's been signed on a season-long loan with an option to buy. 61 goals so far in his 258 career appearances. So shade over 1 in 4. Is that prolific? Is that prolific enough? Let's find out, shall we?
All I'll say is the last one of our clubs that signed a striker from Union Berlin. It worked out pretty well. If he's anywhere near the unit that Taiwo is over at Nottingham Forest, that will go down nicely.
He's quite a tall dude. He actually played in the game at the weekend because he'd signed in time, but he came on as a substitute in the second half, and he did look like a big guy. So yeah, not quite as chunky as Big T, but I don't think they're looking for a target man particularly, on the basis of some other news which we'll get to shortly. The other confirmed in was Gustavo Puerta. He's a midfielder on a season-long loan from German champions, no less, Bayern Leverkusen. He hasn't played much. I think he's only got something like 41 appearances all told, and a couple of goals. So it seems to be possibly the young blood for them that they're letting out into the wild, see if he can get some experience, as it were. But if he's any good, we'll absolutely take him. So that's the confirmed ins. Confirmed outs. Jean-Michel Seri has gone, which I'm a little bit gutted about. But he's gone for that Saudi dollar bills, y'all. He's gone to Al Aroba on a permanent deal. So that's him out the door. Nothing disclosed in the way of fees, as far as I'm aware. But I think he only had one year left on his contract. I don't think it'll have been mega bucks. It's that to me is more about clearing the wage bill, and freeing up a bit of space that way. And the other out was a large target man. Podcast favourite of one of my two sons. Unfortunately, this could potentially be the last time you hear the name Oscar Estepinian on the podcast, as he has moved to Mexican side FC Juarez. It's brought to an end his 2-year spell with Hull City, although most of that last year was out on loan. It's no fee, but they're understood to have paid a 7-figure sum. So at least £1 million.
But there's no fee.
But there's no confirmed fee again. It's all undisclosed nonsense.
Oh, right, I see what you mean. I thought you meant as in they're not paying for him, but they've definitely paid for him.
Well, I think if one of our strikers goes down injured, I think we'll be paying for him. But yeah, nothing else confirmed yet. There's a lot doing the loop, as you can imagine, this close to deadline day. Obviously, next week's podcast will be the roundup of what happens in the final hours. But at time of recording, there's a little over 24 hours to go, and apparently City is still going to aim to get 5 through the door. One of those, however, is former Hull City player Liam Cooper, who was out of contract with Leeds at the end of last season. As he's currently not contracted, doesn't have to necessarily be done by the deadline. So they've got a little bit of breathing space there. But being as the fact that I saw him at Beverley Races last Sunday and he was at the game on Saturday, sat in the owner's box, I'd say that's probably about done. So we'll see.
I must admit, when it came out that obviously he was being released by Leeds, I did wonder if one of our two clubs might end up taking a punt on him. As it turns out, kind of wished it was us, because as it stands, Middlesbrough are down to one fit centre half in the club.
I think with Cooper, obviously he's got Championship experience. He's got a little bit of Premier League experience too, but we haven't got experience in the side at the moment because of the way that the departures have fallen. we've ended up with a lot of youth in the team again. And if the signing does get confirmed, he'll actually be the oldest player in the squad at 32. Obviously, because Louis Coyle isn't the oldest player on the squad, as I may have thought at one point. I heard that bit last week. But yeah, so I can. It seems like a decent fit. He's obviously from the area anyway. Played for the team previously, knows the kind of setup pretty well. Just hopefully will bring a little bit of calm to the back line on the games that he plays, if indeed it does go through.
Very, very nice indeed. Just very kind of quiet at the Borough, just the one in. And it's the position they kind of needed to strengthen in because the two options that are there at the moment, one's injured for a fair amount of time, and the other one seems to be playing himself out of the team as it stands because every game he plays worse. But Borough have signed a new left back, a Brazilian left back, Neto Borges, has become the club's latest summer sign. This is all read from the website. The 27-year-old has signed a 3-year contract after deals agreed with French side Clermont. Borges has plenty of experience in Europe, Hammarby, Genk, and then obviously Clermont in France. Like I said, left back is a position that they've needed to strengthen in ever since the Ryan Giles move wasn't made permanent 2 seasons ago. Lucas Engel started poorly, got better, regressed massively, and now has potentially hit an all-time low after his performance in the cup on Tuesday, which we will come to. And I think had Alex Bangura not been on long-term, I was going to say sick then, but he's definitely not sick. I think he popped his calf or ankle or knee or something. He gave himself a long-term injury anyway in the pre-season games. Had he not been unavailable and the youth team left back that started the cup game not rolled his ankle within the first 90 seconds, dare I say, Mr. Engel wouldn't be playing any more games for the foreseeable future. But like I say, he came on in the cup, didn't perform very well, so I wouldn't be surprised if Borges starts the game on Saturday against Cardiff. Loads of rumours doing the rounds that the Borough are looking to make some centre-half additions. As like I said previously, they're down to one fit centre-half in Matt Clark. They do have other centre-halves on the books, obviously Darrell Lenihan, Dale Fry, Rav van den Berg would all play fit, but none of them can get on the field at the moment because they're all cropped. So I won't be surprised if they bring someone in either on a permanent basis or a short-term or season-long loan. But like Stu said, we'll do a transfer window roundup next week, probably in place of a prediction show as it's international break next week. So we might drop the England predictions from the podcast as I don't really think anyone comes looking for the international fixtures personally. So we might change up this season and not bother with going through the England games. We'll just look to do like a transfer window roundup, as it were. So that being said, we'll jump straight in with last week's games, and the first of which took place on Humberside, but took place without Woodmansey involvement. Is that correct?
That is correct. It was Hull versus Millwall, and as Millwall came to Hull, I was in London, so it was a bit of a reverse day, as it were. However, I was getting text updates whilst the game was going on. I was traipsing around Greenwich whilst it was actually being played. But my good friend, Mr. Richard Walker, sits in the row behind me, sat together at way too many Hull City games to even know what the figure would be nowadays, was texting me such glorious updates as, "This is shit. Oh my God, this is awful." Yeah, it wasn't a fun game. I'd like to say I watched the highlights, but what's probably more of an accurate description is I watched the video of what happened. So yeah, all I'll say is there were 2 good saves in the game. one from either keeper. Kept the game level in the first half. So Pando save from Saville on 18 minutes, a name that Mr. Williams will know well. And 1 minute later, Coyle chipped in from the right. It was chested down and rattled goalward by debutant Burstow, but Lucas Jensen was quickly out to react to it, so that kept it level at the break. Hull did take over possession-wise after that save from Jensen, but didn't really do anything with it. The second half was more of the same. Hull seemed to grow into it after Millwall started stronger. The highlight being another Jensen save again, this time from Bedia had an overhead kick after he'd been brought on as a substitute. The thing that irritated me last year, but is irritating me more this year, got rid of Rossignol because we were getting attacking football. We're going to have attacking football. We're not going to have possession football necessarily. It's going to be attacking, even if it is possession, but we're going to have attacking football. Hull had 68% of the possession to Millwall's 32%. Hull had 14 shots with that 68% possession. Millwall had 13 with their 32%. Of those, Hull had 4 on target. Millwall had 5. This isn't what you promised. This isn't what was supposed to happen. And not to say that they were running rings round them passing wise with a possession, but Hull had 509 passes, which seems a lot compared to Millwall's 239. But as always, statistics are just the mathematician's form of absolute bullshit, because the only one that counts is the score. And unfortunately, it was 0-0. So I'm sensing a huge points fest coming our way. No, I'm not.
Well, funny you should mention that, as Andy had a 1-0 win with Estepinian to score. Sadness on all fronts there. No points. Matt also had a 2-1 Hull City win. Miller, Omer, Honeyman with the goals. No points there. Me and you, however, had draws. I'd gone 2-2. Burstow and Omer, Honeyman and Watmore. And you had gone 1-1. Burstow and Bradshaw. So no points for goal scorers, but me and you do get a point for the 2 draws that we predicted there. Our second game of the week took us back up to the Premier League, where Southampton were taking on Nottingham Forest. And now, obviously, this would be where I'd throw over to Mr. Moore for his explanation of what a fantastic game it was, and how Forest were thoroughly entertaining from start to finish, and really had Southampton on the back foot all the way throughout the game. To say that the game was the last one on match of the day potentially tells you all you need to know. Forest did get the win. They scored in the 70th minute with Morgan Gibbs-White. I have seen this, and I cannot for the life of me think how he scored. Was it a cross? Did you see it, Stuart?
No, because I was travelling all day Saturday, so I didn't see much of anything.
Try and sort of like remind myself. I'm pretty sure it was a cross in from like the right hand side. Yeah. Suffered the hammer blow 20 minutes from time when Morgan Gibbs-White's header from Callum Hudson-Odoi's clipped ball came back to him, and he converted at the second time of asking. So 2 of our favourites there, the double barrel boys. Oh God, I'm going to start calling them that. Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi. They're going to be combining for a lot of decent stuff this season. So yes, 1-0 Forest. Morgan Gibbs-White, 70 minutes. 3 points in the bag for Forest, up to the dizzying heights of, I think, 5th in the league. Whew. You can only dream of such dizzying heights. It's his team, and he was the least optimistic of the whole podcast bunch. He had gone for a 2-2 draw. Brereton -Diaz and Smallbone to score for Southampton, Wood and Awonyi to score for Nottingham Forest. So sadly, Mr. Moore, 0 points. I'd gone for a 2-1 Forest win. Armstrong, Hudson-Odoi and Wood back the wrong double barrel boy. So just the 1 point for me for the correct result, but not the correct score. Andy, however, had 1-0 Forest. Hudson-Odoi to score, so he definitely had the wrong a double barrel boy. 2 points for Andy. However, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey came to the dance. 1-0 Nottingham Forest. Morgan, Gibbs, a White to score the goal. So not only do we have our first full house of the season, for doing so, Mr. Woodmansey gets not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 points for his correct bang on the banana score. 0-1, 2 points. Goal scorer, 1 point, and the additional bonus point for getting everything spot on. 4 points for that one game for Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. Congratulations to you, sir.
I think that was as many as I got all week last week.
Our third game of the week saw my lot, Middlesbrough, taking on Portsmouth. And to say this one didn't start well would probably be an understatement. I personally was taking in the delights of the Victoria Park for the first time this season, and was watching Hartlepool versus Wealdstone. The game kicked off, and I felt a buzz in my pocket. I was thinking, must just be the notification the Borough game's kicked off. No, that would be Portsmouth taking the lead after 2 minutes. Christian Saidi, and he very much scythed through the Middlesbrough team and found himself completely unmarked on the penalty spot as the ball was played in from the right-hand side, and Mr. Saidi found himself unmarked to sweep home from around 12 yards to make it 1-0 to the Borough. Borough didn't leave it long to get themselves back into the game. 11 minutes, to be precise, when they got a corner on the right-hand side. Finizaz swept the corner in to around the edge of the 6-yard box where MacLeod rose above the defender who was marking him to head in. A bit of a scruffy one. The keeper almost just didn't see it and went down in stages, couldn't get over to his far post. And that made it 1-1. We should have known that MacLeod would have scored. Did play for Portsmouth in the past, so old boy rule was very much in effect. Borough didn't really read the script at this point, and on the 25th minute, they allowed Portsmouth to go back in the lead. And when I say allowed, I literally mean for the second league game in a row, they basically gifted the team a goal. The ball was in the air to be won on the corner of the box. MacLeod was well positioned to just head the ball out, no danger. Not if Senny Dieng got anything to do with it, lads. Senny Dieng obviously thinking, well, that's the very corner of the box. There's very little likelihood of me being able to catch that ball and keep it in my hands. I'm going to charge full pace at this and just try and head it out of touch, or head it into touch. He did not do that. Instead, he just clattered straight into MacLeod and took both of them out, leaving the ball right there for Saidi, who just happened to be in the vicinity to take 1 or 2 steps and just roll it into an empty net. Catastrophic from the Borough for the second game in a row. And that's kind of how it stayed until the 90th minute. Obviously, at this point, I was frantically checking my phone for any sort of updates as I was watching what can only be described as the worst game of football I have ever seen. Honestly, Wealdstone are part-time. If you went to that game and were told that one, if not both of the teams were part-time, I would have believed every single part of that sentence, as Hartlepool looked atrociously bad. But I did get a buzz in the 90th minute to let me know that Middlesbrough won a penalty, as for the second home league game in a row, Isaiah Jones was upended in the box. A new signing, Tommy Conway, took the ball under his wing, stepped up confidently, sent the keeper the wrong way, and dispatched from 12 yards. That's how the game finished, a 2-2 draw, a very hard-earned point for the boys in red. Podcast predictions-wise, Stu had gone for a 1-0 home win, Latte Laugh, no points. Andy had gone for a 2-0 home win, Latte Laugh and Bergzorg, no points. Matt had gone for a 2-1 home win, Latte Laugh and Conway, with Lang to score for Portsmouth, so 1 point there for the goal scorer from Matt. I sensibly had gone for a 1-1 draw. Something about this game didn't sit right with me. Bergzorg and Lang, no points, but just a 1 point for the draw. Which means after 3 games, we see ourselves with 3 points for me, 5 points for Stu, 1 point for Matt, 2 points for Mr. Cook. Our 4th game of the week saw League Cup action. Middlesbrough took on Stoke. I'm not going to go through this one as it will just make me incredibly angry. Middlesbrough lost this game 5-0. Not good. Not good at all. The first Stoke goal came on the 14th minute from Emre Tezgel. They managed to keep it at 1-0 till half-time. Should have been 1-0 up. Josh Coburn went through in about the 5th minute and decided that rather than just stick it in the back of the net, he just spooned the bastard wide because it needs goals. When you're in the Carabao Cup, yeah, it's just easier just to put it wide and make yourself look like a complete and total tit. Like I said, a lot of changes in this for Borough in the lineup. They had 6 players making their first start at the Riverside. The keeper, centre half Harley Hunt, was a 16-year-old signing from Swindon Town in the off-season. Left back George McCormick, Micah Hamilton started his first game on the wing. Sonny Finch on the right-hand side, and I think that was it. That's the 5 players. So 9 changes from the league game against Derby, and obviously a back 4 that hadn't played together very much looked out of place. The left back George McCormick had to come off injured at half time as he rolled his ankle. Lucas Engel came on in his place, and all 4 of the remaining Stoke goals came from down the left-hand side, no doubt, or down Borough's left-hand side, so to speak. So sadly, Mr. Engel at fault for all 4 of the remaining goals. Those were scored by Ryan Mee on 57 minutes, Lewis Kumas 60 minutes, Million Manhoef 65, and again on 69 minutes. An absolute capitulation within, was that 12 minutes? 57 to 69? Yeah, not great. 12 minutes where you just have to look and just shake your head. Just Stoke were clinical, but Borough were not great, and you could tell that team hadn't played together before. Very, very bad day at the office. None of us had gone for a Stoke win. We all had varying degrees of wins. For the Borough, I had 2-0. Andy had 2-0. Stu had 2-1 with a Gooch goal for Stoke. Matt had gone 2-1 with a Kumas goal for Stoke. So Matt's the only one who gets any points there. The 1 point for the Kumas strike. And our final game of the week saw Matt's team, Nottingham Forest, taking on Newcastle United in the televised fixture of the Carabao Cup this week. Newcastle started like a bit of a train. Joe Willock scored within 30 seconds of the kickoff. And Newcastle had the best of it for the rest of the first half.
14 seconds.
14? I thought it was at least 30 seconds. Christ almighty.
No, it was the passing comment from my youngest, who was like, "Whoa, they've scored quicker than Chef Wednesday scored against us in the cup." I was like, oh. Uncle Matt will be well happy you've said that, but I had to tell him anyway. So
yeah, not ideal, not a great start. I would say you watched it as well, didn't you, Stu?
Yeah, I was drifting in and out of it. To be honest, from like you said about Newcastle started like a train, they absolutely did. There was parts of that first sort of 15 minutes where I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch this now.
No,
just because they were looking decent, but Forest did grow into it seemingly.
They did. I would say that towards the end of the first half, Forest definitely wanted the half-time whistle as they were kind of hanging on a little bit at the end of the first half. But into the second half, I would say that Forest, with a better side, grew into the game and got their rewards with an equaliser. Let me just double check on the 50th minute. So it only took them 5 minutes back into the restart. And what a strike it was! A debut goal for Jota Silva. The ball was pinging around in the box. Managed to make its way back to Mr. Silva, who absolutely rifled it in the top right-hand corner. In off the underside of the bar. Little beauty. There was a couple more chances for both sides. Newcastle probably should have won it. Actually, I think they had a bit of a gilt-edged chance that I think went wide. But the game petered out to a 1-1 draw, went to penalties. Newcastle were the first to miss in the shootout. Joe Linton's effort was saved by his compatriot in the Forest goal, making his debut. I can't remember his name now. Carlos Miguel, that's it. Sadly, as seems to be the case, the first team that misses in the shootout. I'd love to know the stats on the first team that misses going on to win the actual shootout, because this is actually what transpired. Forest sadly missed penalties 4 and 5. Was it Sangare who missed first for Forest, I think? And then Mr. Taiwo Awonyi stepped up to take the 5th and final penalty kick for Forest and stuck it into the Trent, I think. One of the worst penalties I've ever seen. He's absolutely overcooked it and put about 8 clubs too much on it and just absolutely blazed it straight over the bar. Which left it to Sean Longstaff to stick up to come up and stick on the winning penalty for Newcastle, sending them through to the 3rd round for a date with AFC Wimbledon. Joy. Podcast-wise, Andy had gone for a 2-0 Forest win. Wood and Gibbs-White, sadly no points there. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Newcastle win, as had I. None of us had Jota Silva or Willock to score. But Stu's done it again. He got a 1-1 draw. 2 points right there. Sadly, he did have Nottingham Forest to go through on penalties, so I didn't give him the bonus point there. Didn't have either of the goal scorers as well. He had Wood and Issa. Which means, for the week as a whole, I finished the week on 3 points. Matt and Andy both finished the week on 2 points apiece, but winning the week with 7 points and that golden score in the second game. Congratulations, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. Well done, sir.
Thanks.
Like we said, just the 3 games to predict for the upcoming week. No cup games, and we're on the brink of an international break. So just the 3 games, one apiece for Borough, Forest, and Hull. We'll come at you with those predictions right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Just like that, we're back in the room. So, as we said, 3 games to bring you for this week's predictions. The first of which is another 12:30 kickoff, and it's Cardiff City versus my boys, Middlesbrough. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more 12:30 kickoffs for myself and Mr. Woodmansey's teams this season due to the aforementioned Sky Sports Plus channel that's been released. Not really a massive fan of asking people from Wales to travel to the northeast like we did for Swansea versus Middlesbrough for the first game of the season. And the reverse of that being Middlesbrough fans having to travel to Cardiff for a 12:30 kickoff, which means that probably have to set off at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to get there for a nice early enough time so they can, slurp down a couple of beers at about 6, 7 o'clock, something like that, to really be in the mood. So hopefully see a Middlesbrough win. Obviously it's my team, so I will go last. Matt has sent me predictions, so I will go through his first. So Matt has gone for a 2-1 Middlesbrough win. Gone for a goal for Colwill for Cardiff, but then goes from Conway and Jones for the Borough. Andy, what have you got down for Cardiff City versus Middlesbrough?
For the Borough to win 2-0.
0-2.
I'm gonna start rolling this duo out every time until one of them scores, and then that's it. They're done. Latte Lap and Bergzorg.
I like it. Stu?
Not quite as optimistic given the recent run of form, but I have gone for him to pick up a point on the travels, so I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
I've got Ramsey and I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Is it Mate? There we go. And then for the Borough, I've got Conway and Azaz.
Very nice. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw, obviously, given the fact that Borough seem to be struggling at the moment. However, as Cardiff have started with just 1 point from their 3 games, I have gone optimistic that Borough can get the result here, and I've gone for a 2-1 win. I've gone for Willock to score for Cardiff, and then I've got for goals for Latte and Azaz for the Borough. Our next game sees Nottingham Forest taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League. We're back to the 3 o'clock kickoffs. I've gone for a 2-0 Nottingham Forest win here, and I have gone for the double barrel boys to get a goal each, Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs-White. Stu, what have you got down for Forest Wolves?
I've got 1-0 Forest with Elanga.
Not a double barrel boy?
No. I
Old
feel
boy
like
rule.
I maxed out on that last time around, so
Old boy rule.
switch it up. I'd switch it up. It's fine.
Andy?
I have Forest winning 1-0, and I have picked my favourite Simpsons character, the double barrel boy himself,
Hudson-Odoi. Matt has obviously eaten some sort of optimistic bar, as he's gone for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. He has gone for a double barrel boy, and he has gone old boy rule. He's gone for Gibbs White, and he's given himself Wood. He's gone for the 1 goal for Wolves to be scored by Cunha, which you do for me, as I've got him in my fantasy team. Our final game of the week sees Leeds United Boo taking on Hull City. Obviously, it's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. I almost want to come to Andy last because we kind of know the rules at this point on the podcast, and we kind of know what we're getting. But I will open with Mr. Cook's prediction. Would you like to say it out loud for the people listening at the back of the room?
I feel like, unfortunately, I was hindered with all my choices, and choices is a very strong word. However, I will never miss an opportunity to predict Hull 5 and that other team a bagel. As I said, with so few choices from the attacking football that is Hull, Badia for 2.
Yeah.
And Burstow for 3.
I'm sure Mr. Woodmansey would take a Burstow hat-trick and a Badia brace and a 5-0 win for his boys. Matt has gone for a 2-1 Leeds win, sadly. Goals for Solomon.
It's a good job he's not here.
Solomon and James have gone for Leeds, and Badia has gone for Hull. I got a little bit more optimistic.
Matt's gonna. I'm gonna ruin his day when he listens to this. But ahead of time, Leeds have already confirmed that Dan James won't be available this weekend. So Matt's done himself out of points and isn't here to rectify that issue.
Never mind. I'm going to put James in brackets for him, and we'll see if something can be done about it. We'll sort something out. I have gone for a 2-2 draw. Leeds haven't started great. Hull are unbeaten, technically. Can they keep the unbeaten run going? Let's hope so. I've gone for 2-2. I've gone for Solomon, same as Matt, and Pirot for Leeds, and goes from Slater and Omer for Hull. Dare I ask how you see this one playing out, Mr. Woodmansey?
I mean, you can, Andy. If you don't want to hear the score, you might want to put your earplugs in now. Leeds didn't start well. Then they absolutely rattled Chef Wednesday. I know it was only 2-0, but they played well. Chef Wednesday beat us, so therefore, by virtue of, albeit in the cup, but by virtue of that, that makes me not particularly optimistic. Adding to the fact that we are politely a team in huge transition at the moment. So many players have left. So many new players have come in. Maybe not quite as many as I'd like so far. More probably due by the weekend. You remember when Paul mentioned earlier on about he had a back four that had barely played together and how that turned out? Yeah, I reckon that could be across the entire squad. Unfortunately, I'm gonna predict the worst, but hope that I am therefore disappointed. I'm gonna go for a Leeds 3, Hull 0.
Goal scorers?
Not nice having to do that. I've gone for Pirot, Joseph, and it's Mateo Joseph Fernandez, I guess is his full name according to Sky.
Fine.
And Little Willie Nonto.
See, I toyed with the idea of putting Nonto down, and then thought, this is Leeds. There's a small possibility he gets sold tomorrow at the end of the transfer window, just to really piss off those fans.
Yeah, but I don't think for having the misfortune of knowing a few, I don't think they'd be that bothered if he did go because he's not got the temperament. Like he all but tried to get himself out of the door last year by refusing to train, and they still didn't get rid of him. So
yeah, it didn't really end well in that regard for Mr. Nonto. But obviously, he was accepted back into the squad at some point, and yeah, he's now obviously playing fairly regularly. That brings us to the end of the predictions. But obviously, as we said, there is an international break coming up at the end of the fixtures this weekend. And the England squad itself was announced early today. And there is included one of our team's players. And it's making a first England senior team call up for double barrel boy himself, Mr. Morgan Gibbs White. And Mr. Moore had great glee in informing our group that this was the first Forest call up in, I believe, 28 years, which would put us back at 1996? 2000. No, 1996. Yeah, that is right. 1996.
yeah,
And the man in question was Mr. baldy-headed Geordie himself, Mr. Steve Stone, for those of a particular flavour, shall we say? We'll remember Steve Stone. I always remember him as a no-nonsense central midfielder, but I'm pretty sure I've been told in the past that he used to play on the wing for Forest. So who knows? Who knows where he was playing? But yes, it's the first Nottingham Forest player to make a senior England team since Steve Stone 28 years ago. But he has Lee Carsley is the interim England manager after Gareth Southgate stepped down following the European Championships in the summer. And he's called up 4 uncapped players in the squad. Obviously, Morgan Gibbs White is one of them. Angel Gomez, Tino Livramento, and Noni Madueke of Chelsea are his other 3. no surprise, he was the England under-21 manager, and all 4 of those players featured fairly regularly under Carsley at under-21 level. Also being recalled to the squad is Jack Grealish and Harry Maguire, who obviously were not included as part of the final 26-man squad for the Euros for England. So it'll be interesting to see who sort of steps up and puts their name in it. The 2 games they've got are against Finland and the Republic of Ireland in the Nations League. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on in the first game after Southgate's resignation.
Off the back of I don't know if it came before the announcement of the call-ups or just after, but did he see that Kieran Trippier has announced his retirement from international football?
I did. I imagine that was probably tied into it. I imagine he maybe sort of spoke to him prior to making the announcement of the squad and was told, "Can you not consider me for selection, as I'm going to just concentrate on my club football for the remainder of the time that I'll be playing."
Even though that it's rumoured that he might not be at Newcastle by the end of the transfer window as well. So, yeah, he put a decent shift. I think it said 54 caps on the thing that I saw. Let's be fair, it's 54 more than I'll ever get. But
53 more than I ought to get.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he was. I don't think he was terrible for England. I think this summer he was shat on from a great height by virtue of circumstance, having to play out of position for pretty much the entire tournament, and basically putting a shift in to get them as far as they got.
It's a bit harsh that he played the entire tournament at left back and then was dropped for the final as well. I always thought.
Yeah.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I had to bring to the table. Was there anything you gents would like to bring up at this point?
No, we're all good. I'm bubbling with excitement to find out if we're going to get these 5 players that we can then bring that news to you on the next episode.
Indeed, like we said, yes. Next week's podcast, we may still discuss the England game potentially, but at this point, I'll say it's more likely that we won't, and we'll just concentrate on the transfer roundup for our respective teams. But yes, that's it for this week's podcast. Thank you as always, the 2 gentlemen sat with me to go through their respective teams. Thank you to you guys for listening. Obviously, if this is your first time watching or listening to the podcast, as we always say, just throw us a little like on the YouTubes, a little share, a little subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, all follows and whatnot are very, very much appreciated. That's it for another week. We'll come at you next week with much more from our teams. Obviously, we'll break down the games that they've just had, and we'll go through a roundup of any transfer dealings both in and out of the clubs at the end, or the slamming shut, as it were, of the transfer window. But until then, so thank you from me, so thank you from these 2 gentlemen here, and we'll see you next week. Tatty bye for now.
So there we go, what do you think to that? Another one done, another set of games gone, another set of games to come. Basically what you want, isn't it? Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave reviews where you can leave reviews, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button. That way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.